Right, today I thought I'd make a quick review of the different Sawyer water filtration systems that I use. I use the Sawyer Mini, the Sawyer Squeeze, and basically a bottled Sawyer Mini. Right, so we'll just have a closer look at what we've got. So this here is the Sawyer Mini. It is a 0.1 microns filter. They both are, in fact, the Mini and the Squeeze are both 0.1 microns. I think what this means is it'll filter out sort of 99.99% of protozoa, bacteria, Giardia, that kind of thing, but it won't filter viruses. I'm not sure if you have to worry about viruses too much in sort of Europe and North America, but yeah, this is great for anything apart from viruses, I think. So there's a few different ways you can use these. There's a directional arrow on there, so that's the flow of water wants to go. You stick your unfiltered water in this end and it'll come out the other end as clean water, hopefully. So you can use it really simply by dipping it into a stream and sucking water out the clean end. And there is a straw attachment that goes on there as well, but I mean that's quite a sort of basic form of how you might use it. You can also use these by putting them on an inline system. So if you've got a platypus bag which you take out hiking with you, you can sort of cut your hose which runs from your bag, and you can sort of fit this in line so that obviously a hose goes onto this end, hose comes out this end, and then you've got your drinking nozzle at the end. And it works quite well from that point of view. It is a little bit tough to suck the water through. It doesn't flow easily, but it's manageable. I think the flow rate for these is 0.5 litres per minute, I think. But you certainly know that you're putting a bit of effort in to suck the water through. So I've set this up to show you what I mean. I've got my platypus bag which runs down to the filter, which is mounted in the middle, and then on the other end you've just got your drinking nozzle. So it's as simple as that. The system I've just shown you with the platypus is probably the system I use the most when I'm out hiking. It's really convenient just to sort of fill the platypus and suck the water through it as you sort of walking throughout the day. The other system I sometimes use is a Sawyer water filter bottle, which is basically they supply the bottle and the filter, so the bottle has the filter within it, so it's attached to the top of the bottle with this tube. It's just another Sawyer Mini, it's just a black one, and that sort of fits back down within the bottle. Screw the top on, and then once your bottle is full of water you can just suck it out the top. These are really good as well. Obviously it's the same flow rate as the Sawyer Mini that we just looked at with the inline system with the platypus. So yeah, it's a similar kind of suction that's needed to get the water through. In some ways these are a little bit more convenient because obviously you just take the top off the bottle, scoop them into water, and away you go. You don't have to mess about taking your backpack off and getting the platypus out and that kind of thing. One of the downsides I do find with this is, as it's not too bad when it's full of water, but as it gets more and more empty, it rattles around a little bit in your backpack, because obviously the filter's in there, and sort of when there's no water keeping it in the same position, it just kind of can get a bit annoying when you're walking along and you're just hearing a constant rattling. The third system I use is the Sawyer Squeeze. So this is a little bit bigger than the Mini. I'll grab the two of them just to show you them side by side. So yeah, there's the Mini attached to the inline system, and there's the Squeeze next to it. So yeah, it's quite a bit bigger, but it's still quite small, isn't it? So the Sawyer Squeeze is a little bit better in terms of flow rate. I think the flow rate's about 1.5 litres a minute as opposed to 0.5 litre a minute for the Sawyer Mini, and it's got this sort of convenient drinking nozzle at the top. They're both quite lightweight, to be honest. I think the Sawyer Mini is a couple of ounces, and then I don't know, this is maybe, I think it's getting on for 4 ounces, so it's maybe twice the weight, but it's still quite lightweight. When you buy both the Sawyer Mini and the Sawyer Squeeze, you get these pouches that come with it. So the idea is that you would fill these pouches up with water in a stream or a lake, and attach them to your filter, and then you literally squeeze the water through the bag, and it comes out the end. They're not actually the easiest to use, these bags, in terms of filling up. They're quite good for getting the water out. I have heard some reports that they do split, you know, if you squeeze them too hard basically. But if you use a kind of rolling motion to, you know, like you would with the toothpaste tube, you just sort of, you roll it up and push the water through that way. I've never had a problem with them. Yeah, as I was saying, they can be a little bit tricky to fill up. It's not too bad if you've got like a fast flowing stream, but if you try and fill one of these from a lake or a small pool of standing water, they're not the easiest to get the water into really. So one way around that is to use a regular bottle. So they've just got a normal thread on these filters, so you can just screw them onto a bottle like this one. And sometimes it's easier to fill a bottle up from standing water than it is one of the squeeze pouches. So a lot of the time I might use a bottle instead, especially I tend to use the Sawyer Squeeze more if I'm, say, cycle touring. I'm more inclined to use the Sawyer Mini if I'm out hiking. But yeah, if I'm cycle touring, I might just buy a bottle, maybe not as big as this one, but just a regular bottle, and just keep refilling it up. And you know, this just twists on the end, then you can you can drink straight out of it. You can also use a bottle like this as a squeeze system. So, you know, rather than drinking out the top, you could just fill another bottle by squeezing the water out of your dirty bottle into your clean bottle through the filter. You get a few attachments with the filters as well. So for instance, this here is a back flushing syringe. So from time to time, to avoid your filter getting clogged up with sort of particles within the dirty water that you're filtering, you would want to back flush them. So to do that, you would fill your syringe up, and then you would get your Sawyer Squeeze in this case, and you take the end where the clean water would be coming out of, fit your syringe onto the end and just force the water back through, and that just, it back flushes it basically. And then it's exactly the same thing with the Sawyer Mini. So if I use this one as an example, you would just disconnect the clean end from your bottle, and then you would fill your syringe, put it on there and back flush it through. You also get various other sort of spare parts, spare bits and pieces, washers, connectors, that kind of thing. I haven't actually had to use any of them. Everything's been fine so far, but you know, I suppose these are great if you know you can take a spare washer with you just in case. One thing I have tried using is the tap faucet connector. So basically, I think if you're in a country where you're a little bit concerned about the tap water, you can filter it as it comes out the tap. So this connects onto the end of the tap, and then you would connect your filter onto this end, and then obviously you turn the tap on, water comes through here and filters out the end. I have had a little bit of trouble with these. You have to be quite careful with the pressure you allow out of the tap. So if you allow quite a lot of, you know, cold water taps often have quite high pressure, and if you allow too much out, this will just blow off the end. Or at the very least it'll start leaking. But I have had it where it's literally blown straight off the end and water's gone everywhere. So I'm not sure how useful this is. I suppose in a sort of a bit of an emergency it's maybe quite handy, as long as you're careful with the pressure that you put through it. So we'll have a go with these just to give you a bit of an idea of how they work and the sort of flow rate you can expect to get from them. So I've rigged up the Sawyer Mini onto a 16-ounce bag. These bags come in different sizes. This is the 16-ounce one, and then it's literally a case of squeezing the water through, and that's the kind of flow rate you're going to get from the Sawyer Mini. So as I say, I think that's about 0.5 litres per minute, they say, which is pretty reasonable, to be honest. If you're filling a bottle, it's doable. That's the kind of flow rate you're going to get through your platypus as well, if you've got it mounted in line and you're sucking the water through, and also in the Sawyer bottle as well, because obviously it's a Mini that's inside there. It's just a black one. I've rigged up a Sawyer Squeeze now onto the same bag, and we can see how easily the water comes through this one. It takes a minute just to get going, but obviously you can see it's definitely a stronger flow. It's supposed to be about 1.5 litres per minute. So I normally roll the bags like this, as opposed to just sort of scrunching them together, which I think sort of helps avoid them splitting. That's my quick review of the Sawyer Mini and the Sawyer Squeeze. I think you can pick them up for, I think this one was about 25 quid, maybe 25-30 quid. This one's probably between 30 and 50 quid depending on whether you want all the attachments that go with it. Yeah, I think they're really affordable. For what they are, I think they're good value for money. My personal preference would be the Mini if I'm hiking, and the Squeeze if I'm, say, cycle touring or maybe camping. They have actually released a Sawyer Micro, I think it's called, Sawyer Micro Squeeze maybe. I think they're about 30-35 quid, and it looks like it's kind of something in between the two, in between the Mini and in between the Squeeze. So I think the flow rate is quite good. I think the flow rate's similar to the Squeeze at 1.5 litres per minute. So yeah, it might be a good option to try. I'll stick with these for the time being, but yeah, if I was going to try another one, I think I would try the Sawyer Micro. If you've used these filters yourself, let me know in the comments below what you think, especially if you've used maybe the Sawyer Micro. I haven't got any experience of that one. I'd be interested to hear what it's like. And maybe if you've used any other filters like the Katadyn filters. I know there's a few Katadyn filters out there that especially hikers use. I hope you've enjoyed watching that and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up and please comment and subscribe.